bases dropped on Soccer Down here, April 9th. It's a Tuesday. It's Tuesday Thoughts. Share yours with us using the Tuesday Thoughts hashtag at Soccer Down here. We'll get into your comments, your questions, your thoughts as we go today. We're getting into a match week. Atlanta United headed up this weekend to face the New England Revolution. We'll start to talk about the Revs and the threat that they possess, and just kind of where they're at right now, because it's been a strange season for New England after a strange second half to the 2018 season. I don't know where they're headed exactly. It's an interesting club at the moment with the comments being made by Brad Friedel, their manager, the talk about a big-name designated player that is still unnamed. No one has found any information on who this could be, that the club can't get yet until his season in Europe is over, or the club in Europe would let him go. So it's looking less and less likely like that'll happen in this transfer window that ends in early May. Might be till the summer until this player gets into New England. And does this player change anything? We don't know yet because we don't even know who it is. It's just a weird situation all the way around, and that's what Atlanta United's going into this weekend. It's a big game for Atlanta United, and I don't know what the cool buzzword term is for it, because it's not a must-win just because your season's not over if you lose. But it is as close to a must-win game as you can possibly have in April. It's that big, and it kicks off a very busy stretch for Atlanta United between Saturday and the start of the Gold Cup break at the beginning of June. It's one of those that can, I think, set the tone for that run of games, and we'll have to see how Atlanta United handles things at Gillette Stadium this weekend. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. John, I mean, what kind of importance are you putting on Saturday night at Gillette Stadium?
Well, I mean, we're trying to figure out terminology, and I think tone setter is probably the best one that I've come up with. And you having just said it in the last 30 seconds is probably the best one that I could think of, because must win, should win, those kinds of things, they're out there. Must win in the sense of your season's not over, so it doesn't necessarily 100% apply. Should win, yes, because of the talent you have versus the talent that New England has. And the analogy that I can think of right now with New England is just that car stuck in the mud, and it doesn't have front-wheel drive, and it doesn't have three dudes hanging onto the back bumper that are trying to push it out of the mud right now to get you back on the street. So you look at it, and with the talent you have, it should be there. You should be able to take care of business, get in and get out. So honestly, with this set of matches, what is it, 11 and 50 days? I think that's the number. Is that about right?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so if it's 11 matches in 50 days, and you can sit there and put a good first foot forward in that run, you're setting a tone. So therefore, tone setter, I think, for me, is probably the best way to lay out what this could be, because you get something done in New England, the tone is set toward a decent run of momentum to get you through this 11 and 50. If you don't, then it's a bit of a downer, and you're getting into this run, and it's not the happy, joy brigade that you'd like for it to be going into that run. So I think tone setter is probably the safest descriptor as I'm sitting here trying to write words down on a legal pad.
Yeah, I mean, I just break it up into even smaller chunks. You've got this game on the road before 2 at home, and you'd like to be coming back home with some momentum. You get Dallas and Colorado at home. Colorado's been very poor defensively. That's a game that you have to win, and Dallas has been good at times and young and naive at times. They're a tough opponent to play, and we'll see how Atlanta handles that. You want that momentum coming in, because you haven't had a lot of that this season. And we've seen it historically with Atlanta United. This team, when it gets going down a hill, things really pick up steam. And that's what you're trying to do here. You want to go get a win on the road and try to turn 3 points into a potential 9 in the next 3 matches and just change the narrative. And that's, honestly, that's where you're at right now, is you're trying to change the story around this team. You have really walked into this situation in New England where, it's a place you haven't played well. It's a place that you have not won yet. You've had 2 kind of weird draws both times you've been there. It's a weird atmosphere because it probably won't be a huge crowd. It's a big building and a smallish crowd inside of it. It's not going to make a ton of noise. It's going to have a weird feel to the match. And you have to go out there and just deal with all of it and deal with a team that you start looking at how they're going to play you. I thought Bobby Warshaw broke it down pretty well in his latest piece over at MLSsoccer.com. Their last match, they had a line of 4 defensively, they had a defensive midfielder, and they had 5 other guys. And it was kind of a free-for-all in the attacking half with what those 5 guys would do. That's not exactly easy to deal with. It's not easy to prepare for. It's not generally very effective either, don't get me wrong. It's not a strategy that a lot of teams employ because it generally doesn't work very well. But it's tough to prepare for. And New England's been a tough team to prepare for this season because they've had a lot of different starting lineups. They've had a lot of guys come in and out of the lineup. Atlanta's really at the point now where you're going into this and you're more worried about getting yourself right. That's the way that I'm kind of looking at this is Frank de Boer and Atlanta United has to go in and create a game plan that will generate more chances, like we saw in Columbus. 13 shots, some good chances being created. You need more of that. And you need to eliminate the switched off moments, the moments where you get caught. Because right now, this team is just not good enough to overcome those mistakes. You have to build to it. This feels like a game that you can do those things in. It's a game that you kind of should do those things in if you are among the elite in Major League Soccer. We haven't seen that played just yet from Atlanta United. Do we get a chance to see it Sunday, or at least glimpses of it Sunday, Saturday, enough to take 3 points out of this?
And there are 2 names that I have written down for New England. And the early part of the year, I think that folks have gravitated toward Carlos Gil and Michael Mancienne.
Well, let's talk about Michael Mancienne because he'll be in the stands.
Exactly, and that's my point, is that
that might be a good thing for them.
Yeah. With Carlos Gil, we've seen what Brad Friedel saw in him. He's been one of the bright spots for them offensively. And you have someone like Mancienne, highest paid defender in the league, who has a self-imposed B button apparently and just gets caught more often than not, and he gets exposed, and it's just not been very pretty. So, yeah, it might be a good thing that Mancienne is out with the red card. So how does Friedel adjust things at the back? Hopefully he gets to see something and understand why Mancienne maybe was not the best acquisition in the first place. But I look at Carlos Gil offensively as one of the focal points and one of the early success stories, and I'll put that in quotes, when it comes to the Revs, as a point of focus for Atlanta United. But I think that you focus on you, if you're Atlanta United, you focus on you, and with the group of players that you have, you focus on your game plan, you focus on you, you get in there, put the lack of noise or the echo chamber that's going to be Foxborough aside, focus on the task at hand. You should get out of there with a win, and you should be able to come home for the matches against Colorado and Dallas, where you should be able to get results there as well. So, if you put the confusion of the other guy aside, focus on you, then everything should be okay.
Gill has been everything for New England. He's leading the team in shots per match. He's second in passing percentage. He's leading the team in key passes that create chances. He's leading the team in fouls earned and passes per match. He has the second most long passes completed. I mean, he is everything they play through. So with New England, you know they're going to play a back four, and it's likely going to be De La Mea and Anibaba as your two center backs. Some combination of Brandon Bai, Andrew Farrell, Edgar Castillo as your outside backs. Bai's played on both sides of the back line. Farrell's only started twice after being a regular for this team for a number of years. He could move into the center as well if you need to. So you have your back four. You'll have either Scott Caldwell or Wilfred Zahibo sit in front of them. You'll have Carlos Gil sit in front of that and be in a very free role. He can go wherever he needs to go. And then a combination of other guys. You know, it's sometimes it's Christian Pania. He started 3 times this season. Sometimes it's DeJuan Jones. He started twice. Sometimes it's Agudelo. He started 4 times. Sometimes it's Bunbury. He started every match, but in a variety of different roles. Juan Fernando Caicedo started this first game of his season in Columbus. He had 3 other substitute appearances. Tejan Buchanan has he's played a couple times. It's hard to prepare for. Diego Fagundes, kind of in the doghouse, 2 starts. Luis Caicedo, one of their better players last season, 2 starts. It's tricky in that regard because you don't know what combination they're going to throw at you. Do they get crazy and play Caldwell and Zahibo together? Does it look more like a 4-2-3-1? We've seen that before out of this group. Do they go with that direction? You really don't know. So you have to be prepared for whatever combination of a 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1, whatever. You have to be prepared for all of that. But you have to focus a little more on yourself right here. And this is the type of match where, the questions for Atlanta United is we're on a Tuesday, and we'll hear from Frank DeBoer after training on Thursday. Where's Pity Martinez in terms of his recovery from an injury? We did see the pictures of Pity Martinez getting married. Good for him, and hopefully that will help him kind of settle. He has a child. And we saw the pictures of his daughter involved in the ceremony and his new wife. That should be a big, easing of just outside stuff that is, that noise that you talk about that's just distracting at times. Hopefully that, helps him calm down and relax and feel a little more at home when he gets the family here. Okay, and he's got an injury to deal with, so we'll see where he's at there. Franco Escobar. Where's he at injury-wise? Are you going to be able to play him on Saturday night? The early guess would be no. So then what do you do? Do you go back to 3 in the back, or do you say we're going to play Julian Gressel or maybe John Gallagher as the right back and keep with the 4-man back line? I think this team has looked better with 4 in the back. Not so much defensively, because I think the defense has been fine either way outside of some individual mistakes. Not about a shape thing there. But for whatever reason, it's making the attack work better. You're getting in behind more. It's just opening more things up, so go with it, because the team has looked best in that type of shape, whether it's been a change to it in a match or from the start, as we saw in Columbus. Do it. And if you don't have Escobar, it is a tougher decision because Julian Gressel defensively can be a liability. And as a true right back in a 4-man back line, you do have to be concerned with that. And what might New England do to try to take advantage of that? Would they start Christian Pania, one of the fastest players in the league, on that side and try to run at him? It'd make a lot of sense. We'll see if they go with that direction. And if it's Gallagher, then you're talking about a guy starting his first MLS match on the road, which is not exactly an easy thing to do. Those are the questions for me as we get into the week looking at Atlanta United this weekend. There's more questions than you'd like at this point. But you've had time. You had a full week of training last week. The guys had the weekend off. You have a full week of training this week, and you go into this match. You should be prepared. You should have all of the different possibilities for the lineup worked out. Guys should feel comfortable in their roles, and you should see an Atlanta United team look its most coherent on Saturday night in New England. Now, I'm not going to say they're best because it does seem like injuries are going to affect the lineup decisions. But they should look their most organized. They should look their most coherent. And the game plan, the idea of how you want to approach this match should be pretty evident quickly. If those things are there with the talent Atlanta United has, even missing some pieces, they should win this match. There is pressure on this match, and we'll see how the players and the staff respond. Let's take a break. We'll get into some Tuesday thoughts from you guys. We have a Tuesday thought about surprises in MLS this season. We'll get into that after the break. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Tuesday Thoughts, April 9th edition. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Question on the floor from Drew Gano. Biggest surprise from MLS teams this season? Who has surprised you the most? For Drew, it was Toronto FC. What about you, John?
See, I mean, we're surprised we didn't say good or bad, did we?
No.
So I would probably say bad would be Portland, just as to how bad. And good as to surprise, I would probably go with Toronto. I didn't think that LAFC would be this good. I don't know if that's necessarily surprise-worthy. But so I would say good Toronto FC, bad Portland.
For me, Toronto, I didn't expect this with the drama in the offseason and preseason. I didn't expect them to come out of the gates 3-0-1. Didn't expect that they'd be able to wait it out for a player like Pozuelo. They're making it work, and they've been very good, although there are some pretty big questions after a 2-2 home draw to Chicago. Other surprises, the Dynamo, I think being 3-0-1 as well and without Juan David Cabezas. That one I didn't expect. I thought they'd be good if he stayed healthy. Well, hold on a second. I thought Houston would be good if Cabezas stayed healthy, and that was always my kicker when it came to the Dynamo. If they're healthy, I think they're a top team in the Western Conference. They haven't been healthy, and they're still a top team in the Western Conference. So that I did not expect. And if you're able to go 3-0-1 without him, you get him back into the fold, the Dynamo will be a contender in the Western Conference. What's the surprise about Cincinnati? 2-2-2.
I thought that coming in that they would take them a while to get organized and settled. I thought that after that first match this year, I think that was the vision that I had, is that it was going to take a lot longer for Cincinnati to get their feet under them. But Alan Koch switched some things around, and they have settled things in, and they've done really well. I mean, I think that they should have beaten Sporting over the weekend and had their opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net when they didn't do it. But I think that it might have just been a preconceived notion after staring at the first match with these guys having been put together as a first-year club. You figured it was going to take them a while. I figured it might take them 8, 9, 10 matches to figure out who they were, but it only took them 2. And, if you take that loss in the first match, you put that to the side, you're looking at a team that's 2-1-2 and has had one of the best starts of a first-year club in league history.
I thought they'd be about where they're at. That to me, that tells you the value of not overreacting to one match. You can't let one match change how you feel about a team completely. Cincinnati, for me, and I know I was in the minority in it. Like I thought their roster was better than most did. Now, I did have questions about how Alan Koch would put the pieces together, but I knew the talent was there. Outside of a couple spots where you could still get some upgrades. The Kenny Safe acquisition is the biggest one that put it over the top for me. I thought they'd be a tough team to beat without him. He's the type of player that can make them a winning team, and it does change their dynamic a little bit, but I'm not really all that surprised by Cincinnati. If you didn't know anything about them and you saw them in week 1 for the first time, and that was the first you ever heard anything about FC Cincinnati, I could see a surprise. But I think the talent's been there. And I will use that same argument to not overreact about DC United this weekend. You can't let one match completely change how you feel about a team. And DC United got run out of the building at home against LAFC, who's in a great run of form, and punished them for every single mistake they made. That doesn't mean that DC's start before that at 3-0-1 was a fluke. DC's a very good team. They're a good defensive team. Do they have issues? Yeah, every team in this league has some issues. Every team in this league has weaknesses that can be exploited. DC's got exploited in every single possible way on Saturday. That doesn't mean they're all of a sudden going to be a bad team and miss the playoffs. I don't. But that's what I'm saying. You can't overreact. Cincinnati gets blown out of the water in Game 1 in Seattle. Not exactly an easy place to play. Seattle also started the season hot, 4-0-1. These things do happen. Bad results do happen from time to time. You can't put too much stock into one match. I think that's a danger to do. Other surprises for me, Red Bulls at 1-3-1. I did not expect that. I thought they'd struggle. I thought they'd have some problems without Tyler Adams. I didn't think they'd be 1-3-1 at all, and they shouldn't be. So that's an issue. Atlanta at 0-2-2. I did not expect that they would be 0-2-2. It's a surprise. You look at the overall picture of everything that's happened, it's not as much of a surprise in my opinion, but it's still a surprise that they are where they are. I didn't expect it. Looking out west, Portland being as far down as they are is a surprise, but I thought they'd struggle. They just haven't replaced Liam Ridgewell, and they never truly replaced Fernando Adi. Armenteros was that guy for a while. Ebobisse got hot in the playoffs. You don't bring Armenteros back. Ebobisse's not really your guy on a regular basis as a number 9, so you come into the season without a number 9 and without a center back who's been, kind of one of your inspirational leaders. I thought they'd struggle. Now, 0-4-1 struggling and 15 goals allowed, no, I didn't expect it to be that bad. Real Salt Lake's a surprise. 1-4-1, giving up 13 goals. That's surprising to me. They have more talent than that, and they've shown that they have more talent than that. I don't know what's going on with Real Salt Lake. Their inconsistency has, I think, the extremes have gotten wider this year, and that's not the way this thing should normally go. You should be narrowing down those inconsistencies as you work with a team over time, not having the extremes get further and further apart. So RSL, I think there's some pretty significant questions. FC Dallas being as good as they are is a little bit of a surprise. I thought Luchi Gonzalez might take a little more time as in his first professional job. It's not, his first year with Dallas. It's his first professional job. He's been in the academy. He was going to be the North Texas SC manager in USL League One to get his feet wet. He jumped straight into the fire with FC Dallas, and he's been good. He's been good. The behind the scenes of their first month with Luchi's messages to the players, really cool social media bit done by FC Dallas. They've been really good in that regard too this season, giving you a lot of access behind the scenes. Some pretty cool stuff out of FC Dallas. And Luchi Gonzalez is a guy who you hear him speak to his players. You'd like to play for him. He's that kind of manager. And to be able to do that 6 games into a professional career, it's pretty impressive. LA,
NYCFC?
Seattle, LA. No, no, not at all. We talked about NYCFC when you lost David Villa and you didn't sign a forward, you were gonna struggle until you got this team complete. Not a surprise at all for me. And let's be real about NYCFC. They've played 5 matches. They've lost once. That's it. They have 4 draws. You're talking like 1 goal. You score 2 more goals, and you're a team that's 2-1-2. That's not that bad. They're struggling to score goals. That's not a surprise at all when you lose David Villa and you don't replace him yet. Hebert on the roster. Does he get into the team this weekend? Does he start this weekend? Do you get a little more of a true shape in the front of your formation? You need it in a bad way because you can only pull the false 9 amoeba attack for so long. It's very hard to make it work. And without a true number 9, you're always going to be scrambling a bit. So I'm not surprised by where they're at all. Maybe Montreal being 2-2-1 with all their games on the road so far. Maybe they've got one more win than you might have expected when you look at their schedule. Philadelphia bouncing back after a rough start at 3-2-1. Maybe a little bit further along than you would have expected. But the big surprises for me are Toronto being as good as they are with the preseason that they had. Red Bulls being as disappointing as they are with really everybody but Tyler Adams back. Houston being as good as they've been without Juan David Cabezas. And RSL being where they're at and being as inconsistent as they've been. Those are the big surprises from a team standpoint. Any individuals that have surprised you in a positive or negative way?
Well, positive for me, sticking with the positive teams, you look at a guy like Pizzuelo. I didn't think that he would be, that he would make this big a splash on the scene as he has coming out of the blocks. Knew he was a tremendous talent, but didn't know that it was going to be like this. And seeing what he's been able to do for me it's been a treat. I mean, I will grant you that one and sit there and say, yep, knew of him, seen the highlights, seen the clips, but to see the flashes that he's been able to put out there, for me, it's been a real treat. And surprises, I mean, I wouldn't say that, seeing what LAFC has been able to do is a surprise with Vela and Rossi. So having them at the top of the ladder, that's cool, but it's not a shock. As I'm sitting here and scanning teams, trying to sit there and see if there's anything that might be a surprise. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Of course, I yield to the floor, and I will be more than happy to hear what folks are thinking themselves about surprises individually.
Yeah, David Accam finding form again for Philadelphia. I mean, you just never know if that's going to happen again after such a bad year for him last year. That's been a huge part of the Union's success. Other individuals, I mean, just New England, like, I just don't know what's going on with some of the comments from Friedel about work rate and work ethic. You know, it feels like there's issues behind the scenes. But a guy like, Christian Penilla, what's going on with him? Diego Fagundes, he, kind of made it clear that he wanted to leave, and he hasn't. And, is that a good thing for this team to have him around right now? Questions there. Mitricha from NYCFC has been a pleasant surprise. You just never know. I think Pozuelo had a much bigger pedigree than a guy like Mitricha. Pozuelo is actually fairly similar to the Victor Vasquez acquisition of, Spanish player, talent, was up and coming, goes to Belgium, stars. Okay. You at least have something to fall back on there. Players out of Romania, and for the amount of money that they paid for him after his Romanian club didn't really pay a ton for him last year, kind of wondered. He's legit. He is a legit talent. And, what he's done so far, not, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to that degree. You look out west, I mean, we know LAFC's top guys. They're not surprises. Jordan Morris, I think, hitting the ground running so fast early, and then, maybe coming back to earth a little bit. We'll see on him.
Jarrett says CJ Sapong.
See, I wasn't surprised by that. I couldn't figure out what happened to him last year because I had been a big supporter of CJ Sapong from the year before and getting some national team time and getting those opportunities because it felt like he was growing into that type of player, like where he could push Jossie Zardes for that type of time with the national team. And then last year it just fell apart. Just completely and utterly fell apart. So not surprised he's doing well. Maybe a little surprised that he's doing well in Chicago. And you could almost put Chicago in the surprise category. They're 1-2-2, and it doesn't seem like much of a surprise, but they've looked pretty good. And that draw in Toronto is a really good point for them. I want to see where they go from there. That's the question I have about the Chicago Fire is you just went on the road to a team that had won 3 games and looked dominant, and you pulled a result, a 2-2 result. Now you come back home and you host Vancouver on Saturday night. Or on Friday night. You have to win that and win that in a commanding way. You have to build on that result in Toronto. We'll see if Veljko Paunovic's crew can do that. Surprises out west, I'm scanning to see if there's any individuals that kind of jump out at me. Not really.
Yeah.
Colorado, I thought, would be a little bit further ahead than where they are. I thought some of their acquisitions might have a little bit more of a positive impact. A guy like Benny Feilhaber, I thought might give this team a little more personality. It's just not quite there right now. Portland, I mean, there's not really a surprise that Claude Dielna's been bad because that's just what he's been. Maybe he's been even worse than you would have expected. And just the fact that it seems like they really put a lot of thought into he's going to be the guy to replace Liam Ridgewell. We'll be fine. And he's not. And he's only, played a couple of matches, and now you're scrambling to find center back pairing. It's a bad situation when you're on the road for as long as you are until Providence Park is ready to go. Let us know your team surprises, positive or negative, and your individual surprises, positive or negative, from the MLS season in the first month. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, Tuesday Thoughts edition, April 9th. Getting into surprises around MLS, both positive and negative. Michael Head said, biggest surprise, Atlanta United's horrible start of the season. Who predicted this mess? And then right above it in my timeline, Train said that he knew Atlanta United would be bad. So I guess that's who predicted it.
Trains predicted it.
Yeah, let me know the lottery numbers for Wednesday, Trains. I'd like to win some money.
Yes.
I did not expect Atlanta United to be where they are. I expected them to have some struggles due to the schedule, but I did not expect them to be where they are. I also don't think they're as far off as others do, but we'll have to see. I mean, at this point, everybody's got a thought about what needs to change, what is working, what's close, what's not working. It seems like you get a room of 30 people talking about Atlanta United, and you're going to get 30 different possible stories about it. And some of them are going to be completely and utterly negative and fire everybody. Some of them are going to be, well, they're close here, they're close here. Some are going to be somewhere in between. So I don't know. And that's why I'll be very glad to get back into action on Saturday with this group. They need to change that narrative around it because it is a lot of unknown at the moment. Trains' others, good and bads, were bad surprises. New York, Red Bulls, and Portland. Good surprises, Toronto and Minnesota. Now, I will say, and I said it on the show many times, I'm not surprised about Minnesota because I said they would make the playoffs this year. They've been good. They had a little bit of a stinker against New England. But they're in a playoff spot right now. They're 3-2. That's all on the road. 3 wins on the road. Pretty good for a club that was just horrendous on the road in their first 2 years. Now they get to go home and open their new building up. I think Minnesota's going to be okay. You look at the West and LAFC, LA Galaxy, Seattle, Houston, Dallas. That's your top 5. Maybe Dallas is a little bit of a surprise. Houston a little bit, maybe where they are with the Cabezas injury, although I thought they could be in that type of spot if they stayed healthy. Kansas City being where they're at, 2-1-2, yes, I think they'll be a contender in the Western Conference. I think they're probably the most complete team in the West. But Minnesota being around that 5, 6, 7 spot, they're going to be fighting it out with a Dallas, with a Salt Lake, with probably a Portland, as they start to figure it out. I don't see San Jose, Colorado, Vancouver. I just don't see those 3 pushing into playoff possibilities. So Minnesota has every shot to make the playoffs this year. I think they're a much better team than they've been. And I agree with Adrian Heath. They don't have any more excuses. This is make or break for them to get into the postseason. And he has to pull that off, or I think you're going to be looking at a new manager in Minnesota, either mid-season, and now I don't think that's going to happen because I think they'll be in that conversation. Or after the season. If they don't make the playoffs, I think they're moving on. But I think they do. I think they make it.
And, yeah, I mean, you look at Portland, and we've said it with Atlanta, we've said it with D.C., all of those matches that are going to be backloaded at home, that to me is going to be the insurance policy, if you will, for Portland getting into the playoff picture. And Jared also had another thought on RSL. He says this was supposed to be a make-or-break year for Petke. Teased everyone for 2 years. If this isn't better by the end of 2019, I think there has to be a long, hard look at changes.
The question about Real Salt Lake, and I've seen it brought up in social media conversations around the team, is that is Mike Petke the guy to develop young talent? And they have to answer that question because that's who they're going to be. Real Salt Lake's not going to be a team that brings in, guys in their mid-30s on big money contracts. They're going to develop talent. They have a great academy. They've invested in it heavily. They are going to give young players a chance, and when they do go out into the international market, they're going to sign young guys who are on the way up. You have to have a manager who fits that. Petke is an unbelievable personality. I think he, is a successful manager in this league. Is he the guy at Real Salt Lake? And that's what we're going to find out this year. I agree in that if they don't make the playoffs, if there is not at least staying where they were last year, if they slip backwards, you're going to have to look in the mirror a little bit. If they slip backwards the way they're slipping backwards right now, I don't think you're looking in the mirror too long. I think you're going to have to make that change. And I'd hate to see it because I think there's a lot of clubs that could really use a Mike Petke. I just don't know if RSL is that club. And that's going to be the decision for the higher-ups at Real Salt Lake to figure out.
Nathan Pugh says LAFC. Figured they would be top 3 or 4 in the West, but they've essentially dominated, and Vela and Rossi have been very good. And he has another surprise. He says also, Nani. Not surprised at his skullduggery and shenanigans, and I'm trying to figure out the personification here. I think it was blech.
I'm not as surprised by Nani. I think I am a little more surprised by the ridiculous outburst that he had over the weekend, and I'm very surprised that he did not see a red card. But anyway, not surprised by him coming in and lifting that team a little bit. On LAFC, I'm a little surprised specifically at how good they've been defensively, because we wondered what that would look like in a full season. You had questions coming into the year about Walker Zimmerman coming back. They answered that. He's been good. You had questions about, you moved on from Laurent Simon last season, mid-season. You never really sorted out where you were going from there. It's worked. I mean, Eddie Segura has started every match, been very good. You're still getting consistent starts out of 35-year-old Jordan Harvey at left back. Is that sustainable over the full time? We'll see. Mark Anthony Kaye back, and he's been outstanding. So it's good so far. You have Danilo Silva in reserve as well. He started one match. You're getting, I think the biggest thing for me that I'm a little surprised about with him defensively, and I'm also still a little concerned long-term, is you're getting starting minutes, big starting minutes, out of 35-year-old Jordan Harvey, 32-year-old Stephen Beitashour out on the flanks. Does that hold up? Does that hold up this summer? We'll have to see, because I don't know where they go if it doesn't. You have Mohamed El Munir, who has played 20 minutes so far. He's, an option on the left side. He's okay. Beyond that, you don't have a ton of options if you're going to stay in a 4-back setup. unless you're going to play a 32-year-old Danilo Silva replacing a 32-year-old Steven Beitashour at right back. That's the thing that I'm going to be watching to see if those guys hold up. There were questions about Jordan Harvey coming back, and he's started every match. He's been good. Can he do that over a 34-game MLS season? We'll have to see. You know, you do have El Munir to spell him from time to time, but is he going to hurt you? He hurt Orlando at times defensively. That's what I'm watching for LAFC in the long term, just because I do worry about their depth a little bit. They have answered the question that I had about them last season consistently, and can you win a big game? They didn't last year ever. Biggest win was a home one over Columbus. That was it. This year, they've won big games at home over Sporting Kansas City in week 1. They've had to come back in games to win them. And then you go to D.C. and you just punish the Eastern Conference leaders. So they've answered that question. We'll see how this back line holds up over the long haul. That's maybe the bigger question that I have for LAFC at this point. Let's take a final break of hour number 1. We'll come back, get into more Tuesday thoughts from you guys right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, April 9th edition, wrapping up hour number 1. It's a Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. We'll be getting into more of your thoughts as we go this morning. Wanted to share this one with you. The Gold Cup this summer. The groups and match schedule will be revealed tomorrow. 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Pacific Time. It's, I guess, an event with the draw in Los Angeles. So far, what we know is that Mexico is your seeded team in Group A. They'll be playing their group matches at the Rose Bowl, at Bronco Stadium at Mile High in Denver, and the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Group B is headed up by Costa Rica. They will play their first group game at the National Stadium in Costa Rica. I think the first time Gold Cup matches have been played in Costa Rica. And then Costa Rica and the rest of Group B will go to Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas, and Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. Group C has Honduras and Jamaica in it. I don't know. CONCACAF, welcome. It's weird. The first round games, or the first games in the group stage, will be at Independence Park in Kingston, Jamaica. So, first time you've had Gold Cup matches in Jamaica. Then they come to Houston, BBVA Compass Stadium, and the Bank of California Stadium in Los Angeles. Group D is headed up by the United States, and they will be playing their group stage games, first at Allianz Field in St. Paul, Minnesota, then First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, and then Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City. Want to see what the rest of these groups end up looking like. So we know Honduras and Jamaica are together, and then we know our seeded teams and the rest. Other teams that will be dropped into groups: Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, Canada, Martinique, Curacao, Bermuda, Cuba, Guyana, and Nicaragua and El Salvador. That's your qualified teams for this tournament. Now, how they're dividing these teams into groups, it's CONCACAF. Who knows? They might not even do the draw. It might just be, here you go.
Yeah, here you go.
Schedule.
Yes.
I mean, they'll try to divide it out, I would assume, based off rankings and stuff. When you look at where they're ranked, you're going to have some interesting ones to decide. So out of the teams that aren't in groups right now, Panama, they've been a runner-up in the tournament twice. Trinidad and Tobago, we know what they did to the United States in qualifying. Martinique has been in the quarterfinals of the tournament recently, as has Haiti. Bermuda, first time ever. Guyana, first time ever. Cuba has been in the quarterfinals in 2013 and 2015. Nicaragua, they've been to the group stage twice in the modern era of the Gold Cup. El Salvador has been to a quarterfinal. They were in 2017. They've been to the quarterfinals pretty consistently. They've got a young group coming through with El Salvador. It's going to come down more than likely to the 5 teams that are already in groups. Maybe with a Panama, that's a surprise, but that's an older group that I don't know how much they truly have left in the tank. How interested are you in the Gold Cup this summer?
I'm always going to be interested in live TV. I mean, for me, I'm interested just to see the younger. I'm not going to say the younger teams, but the teams that are the ones that you don't think are going to have a chance of getting out of group. As the show's patron saint of the underdog, I want to see all of those guys. I want to see them just be on the world stage or on the hemispheric stage. That's what I'm interested in. I will probably be the household or the ratings point that would be there watching the match that would be the most wildest match that you could have ever thought of, that's going to be on TV or any kind of streaming or anything like that. I'll be that guy watching that match. It will be on in the office the entire time, and I will try and find a place where I can watch it. So give me the underdogs, I'm in. Give me odd matchups, I'm in. If I see an upset happening, I'm going to switch over. So I guess by default, I'll be watching a lot just because of the intrigue that's associated with that kind of a tournament. I'm looking at it strictly at surface value and seeing how the big dogs compete. But at the same time, I want to see the underdogs. I want to see the little guy, and I want to see how they react on the world stage.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I always enjoy the Gold Cup, and I enjoy some of the other matches, seeing some of these smaller countries and how they perform. The weird thing about this unveiling, so this is how it's described by CONCACAF.
It's deal or no deal.
The venues and dates for the 2019 Gold Cup seeded nations are available here, and the full groups and schedule will be unveiled on Wednesday, April 10th, at an event in Los Angeles. Not a draw. They will unveil it. So, okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Very interested in the approach here. You would think you would just do a draw, and there you go, and everything's solved. But, okay.
Well, but for the little guy, let me ask you this. For the smaller nations and the nations that are not top 50, do you want to unveil them and either make it financially viable where they don't have travel issues and you put them in groups that are somewhat closer geographically?
I mean, how much of a difference is it going to be for Curacao to fly to Houston or Seattle? or wherever. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference because you're not going to have – that's the thing. I mean, okay, you've got a group stage game or a doubleheader in Costa Rica, and you have a doubleheader in Jamaica. All right. Beyond that, I mean, those groups then you're going to Texas and New Jersey if you're in Costa Rica's group. You're going to Houston and Los Angeles if you're in Honduras and Jamaica's group. Travel's going to be travel. I mean, that's just where it's at. CONCACAF can't think that way. I don't think there's any way to make it work. It is what it is. So, I mean, you're playing all across. Mexico is in California, then Colorado, then Charlotte. You know, the United States group is in Minnesota, Cleveland, and Kansas City. That one's probably the least bothersome in terms of mileage and traveling, but you know, that's if you want to play at this level, that's what you have to deal with. So if you're Curacao, Guyana, you know, that's where you're at. You have to be ready to deal with this stuff. How big is this for the United States in your mind for the national team?
Gold Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it's final or not bust, but it's
freaking astronomically important.
Whoa, now that's a little much. So then let me ask you: if Greg Berhalter doesn't make the final, you're firing him?
No.
Oh, well, that's astronomically important. That's
I said it's astronomically important. I didn't say it's the end of the world for Greg Berhalter. I want to see improvement.
It's pretty much as big as it gets, I would think.
I said astronomically freaking important. I thought.
Then what's more important than that?
Getting to a final. I want to see a final. I want to see a finals appearance. That for me is what I'm hunting for.
That's what I'm hunting for. To not get to the final. And I think that's the issue is that. You know, you can't justify it if you don't get to the final. If you don't beat Mexico, okay.
Yeah.
If that's your final. If your final's against a Jamaica, if your final's against a Costa Rica, yeah, you better win it. But you have to get to the final. I think if you don't, there's going to be more questions about Greg Berhalter and where you are. Was announced yesterday that the U.S. will play Venezuela in a pre-Gold Cup friendly in Cincinnati. They are bringing in grass to lay over the turf at Nippert Stadium. Excited to see that. Maybe a chance to see Joseph Martinez against Darlington Nagbe. I want to see if Nagbe gets into this Gold Cup team.
Yes.
I think he should. I think the way that Berhalter wants to play, Nagbe is a perfect fit. So lots of questions as we get into a CONCACAF Gold Cup summer. We'll have Copa America going on this summer as well. We'll have the Women's World Cup. So much international play during the summer in June, the end of May with the U20 World Cup, beginning of June with Gold Cup, Women's World Cup, Copa America. Our heads will be spinning as MLS takes a short break.
In a good way.
Open Cup. Hopefully in a good way. Maybe not. We'll see how these results go. Let's take a break here. We'll wrap up hour number 1. We'll get started with hour number 2. More of your Tuesday thoughts right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Tuesday Thoughts edition of SDH, April 9th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. Getting ready for DC United Montreal tonight, a rare Tuesday MLS match. No Wayne Rooney, he's suspended, red card. No Nacho Piatti, he's injured. Not the star power you'd like to see in this one, but DC trying to get back in the win column after getting punched in the face and then other spots as well, kicked in some bad areas by LAFC. Do you think DC gets 3 points here, or does Montreal frustrate them into a draw or a loss?
I think that Montreal frustrates them into a draw or a loss, but should I remind folks that they need to change their fantasy rosters, or should I not remind them so I could continue to try to stay in the top 20?
You should remind them, because that would be awful to not remind them, and it'd be kind of a jerk move.
So, and you can still join the Fantasy League, by the way. Go to Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter. Go to the Jason Wright Agency Facebook page, and that way you can join our league and join in, because there's stuff available during the season, and it'll be a fun exercise for all of us. And thanks to the 70-plus who have been a part of the league already this year, and we will have the update for the Fantasy League, so it'll be kind of a hybrid weekend update and getting you ready for all the matches that are going to be this week, when the commissioner crunches all the numbers and lets us know where things are. So join if you haven't joined. Fix your rosters if you, like me, had Wayne Rooney starting last week.
Yeah, that's not good. You kind of missed on that one there, but just a little.
That was. I'm usually good for one bogus move in the Fantasy League a week. This past week, it was Rooney. 2 weeks ago, it was our favorite Bond villain who got a red card. So I'm good for a red card seemingly at least every week that we've had the Fantasy League this year.
Yeah, that's not good.
Damir Kreilach, Wayne Rooney.
Shiva with a question. How do you think Atlanta did with their scouting this offseason? We lost Miggy, Garza, and McCann, and even though replacing a like-for-like for Miggy is almost impossible, but do you think we did well replacing who we lost? I mean, I wouldn't say just scouting. You know, you got to talk about acquisition as well, because scouting is a little broader than actually getting guys in. I mean, let's dig into it. So you traded Garza, you added the allocation money for him. You got Mikey Ambrose back healthy. You did not expect George Bello to be injured for this much. You added Breck Shea. I think you're as good as you could be expected on the left side. You know, you would not have added Shea if you kept Garza. Garza would have become a rotation player with Bello, or at least that would have been the idea going into the season if he stayed, along with Mikey Ambrose being there as well. I don't know if that's something that Greg Garza would have been comfortable doing. I think he's a starter in this league, and you were making an opportunity for George Bello to be the guy, and you had Ambrose healthy, who could be a backup, and you added Breck Shea for a veteran option as well. I'm okay with the decisions there. You couldn't predict Bello's injury, period. You know, if you knew he was going to be injured and miss the time that he's missed, sure, maybe you don't make that move, but you can't predict that. That's a little different. McCann and missing him. Again, okay, so what he covered on the left side, I think you've answered that question. His role as an extra center back as needed, I think you've answered that as well. Jeff Florenowitz has become that, or can be that as needed. Miles Robinson's emergence, you know, that changed it as well. You added Florentine Pogba, who has been, I think, a little slow to get back up to speed, but we knew it would take some time. He hadn't played since May of 18, so you had to work on that. He's had flashes. He's looked inconsistent at times as well, which is to be expected. I think some people look at him as a disappointment, and they're not being fair. When you look at his pedigree and who he is, if his last name was Smith, I think you'd be fine with what he's brought to the table so far. But with his last name being Pogba, there's an expectation that's not fair. He's not his brother. He's not one of the best players in the world. He's a good piece to have. He's a good depth piece to have. And I think when he gets fully integrated, he'll get some minutes here and there. But I don't think he's expected to be a starter, as McCann would not have been expected to be a starter. So I'm okay with who they've replaced for the people you mentioned. You brought in Pity Martinez. He was your big replacement for Miguel Almiron. It's not a like for like, because there's not a like for like. He's a different player, and he's been slow to get comfortable, and that has been an issue. You hope that changes, but you also do not overreact about a player of his quality being slow to get comfortable. It's not a player that hasn't proven anything in his career before. It's an Argentine national team player. It's a Copa Libertadores winner. It's a South American Player of the Year. You've got to give him some time. If you're impatient with players like that, I don't know what to tell you, because not everybody steps into a new club, a new country, a new league, a new style of playing, a new style of opponents playing against you, and hits the ground running. But he's got the quality to back it up. You have to be patient with that. That's, to me, kind of a non-starter. I've seen some people, with comments and takes on that, look, I just don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's a smart way to approach it, because otherwise, if you're ready to run guys out of town after, a couple of months, players of this quality and this pedigree, I don't think that's a good way to live, because you're going to get to a situation where players are going to think twice about going into those situations if they don't have time to adjust. Now, Atlanta's unique, John. I mean, how easy is it to come into a club where you're replacing I don't know how you exactly put it with Miguel Almiron and his role in Atlanta, because he wasn't the face, because he had Joseph.
Catalyst?
Yeah, that's a good one. So you're replacing the catalyst for a team that won a championship last year, and you're not the same type of player. You're a different kind of player. That's not an easy situation for a Pity Martinez.
No. And for me, it's just been understanding from the beginning that you lose Miguel Almiron, you bring in Pity Martinez. It's not like for like. You're anticipating the development of other players like an Ezequiel Barco and players that are coming up through your academy and through your system, and that's where Miles Robinson comes into the discussion and all of that. But when you're someone of PT stature, and when all of the discussions were happening and everybody was racing to the internet to see what Pity Martinez is capable of doing on a soccer pitch, there's an excitement level there. And I know that there's an expectation level that's been brought in by the front office and all the way down. Front office, we want titles, we want trophies, international brand, all this kind of stuff. And so they're stepping up and bringing in these kinds of players like a Pity Martinez, and you're anticipating that when you lose a catalyst like a Miguel Almiron, that others will fill that void. It doesn't necessarily have to be an individual to fill that void, but there will be others with a new coach and a new system who will help out. And if it's a group effort to fill that void, to be catalysts, to have depth in that role, then that's what you're hunting for. But to be a destination for players, I think it's something that both the front office has been working toward, and that the fans can sit there and say, we're having these kinds of players want to come here because it is a gateway to doing other things. So my biggest thing is give PT time. And if it takes a little longer than normal for someone to integrate because he's been flying around and doing other competitions, being with other teams, going around and doing everything, it's going to take a while for him to get to full song. It's going to take a while for him to find his place. When he finds his place and when he's comfortable, it will be very special. And that's just what I've thought about the whole thing, is that it will be very special once he gets fully integrated into a role and an idea and what things are like here.
His quality is just beyond what you've seen in this league on a regular basis. And, this is not like a unique MLS story. How many times do you see a talented player come into England and struggle? How many times do you see a talented player go to Spain and struggle? It happens. There's different styles. There's different teams play different ways. There's just adjustment periods. So give it some time. It needs to be better. Hopefully, everything is going to head in the right direction for him. Hopefully he gets healthy. And if he's not healthy, rest him and play guys who are showing that they're able to step into that. I think Ezequiel Barco is going to be very important in this next run of games over the next 6 weeks. I think he's going to have to be. He's going to become some of that catalyst role. I think Andrew Carlton's going to have a part to play here, whether as a starter or as a key substitute off the bench. I think he's a little bit higher up on the food chain than he was under Tata Martino. And he needs to continue the strong play that we've seen from him. You need to get that production in the final third that we talked about yesterday with the twos. He needs to continue growing and building and taking on that responsibility. You need to see Julian Gressel, Darlington, Nagbe do the things that we know they're capable of. We need to see more consistency out of both of them as well. This is a big, important stretch, and it starts on Saturday. And just my concern, and the reason I put so much importance on Saturday, is that if it doesn't go well, we know where the mood is around this team right now. We know what the vibe is around this team right now. I'm talking more externally. We know where that is. If you go up to New England and you lose to the Revolution, that's only going to get louder coming back for 2 at home. That's only going to be one more hill in the way that you have to get over as you're trying to get this thing on the right track. That's only going to make it harder. Go up to New England, take care of business against a team that you have more talent than, and do it. It has to start here. I really think that if it starts here, we're having a different conversation when we get into the Gold Cup break. After that Chicago game, we're having a very different conversation. If it doesn't, you can still get there, but I think you've made it more difficult to get there. I really do. It's a game, and it's a situation that we have not seen this team in, period. Trains with a good point. Trains is not sure why people compare Pitti to Almiron. And, I think we're all on the same page there. They're not the same type of player. They wear the same shirt number, but they're not the same player. Train says that Pitti's more of a Vela Piatti type player. That player can succeed here. I think the Piatti comparison is a very good one. Pitti Martinez, and think about how Montreal uses Nacho Piatti. He's out wide. Everybody wants to play Pitti inside. Look at how Montreal uses Nacho. He's out wide. He's in space. He receives the ball in space. It's harder for a defense to commit a player to mark a player who is going to stay out wide, drift out wide, wants to receive the ball to their feet, because that's going to open up spaces for everybody else. So you don't do that. Montreal finds Nacho Piatti, dribbles past one, dribbles past two, either creates a chance for somebody else or creates a chance for himself. That player can absolutely succeed here. I think Vela is a little different and can do a few different things, but the Nacho Piatti comparison I really do like for Pitti Martinez. And we've seen how good that can be in this type of situation. he's not Miguel Almiron. He's not that player. He's a special player, as Miguel Almiron is a special player, but they're special in different ways. And that has to be recognized, in my opinion. And I'm excited to see what he can do when you get everything in sync with this group. Joseph as the 9, we know. I think if you follow this down the road that we just laid out, and Pitti is on the left, out wide, not on an island in that he's not part of the build-up play, but he is stretching the opponent because of his presence out wide. Okay, cool. Barco pulling the strings underneath Joseph. Maybe with Nagbe or Gressel as a running buddy. Maybe you have them as an 8/10 with Barco. Maybe you decide to be a little more defensive and play 2 holding midfielders, Eric Remedi and somebody. Maybe Nagbe is the player who reads that and makes the decision when to go. All that's fine. On the right side, is it Tito Villalba? Is it Julian Gressel? That's the question that I think we're kind of waiting to see. Because if Gressel's not at right back, you want him in this team, and you have to make decisions. Do you want him as an 8? Do you want him as an 8/10? Do you want him as a right winger? That's going to be the decision, and that's going to be a tough one because it's going to affect other people's playing time. You got to get the right combination in the final third, whatever it is. Whatever that group is, you need to find it, and you need to find it soon. But I agree, I think Pitti is a player out wide coming inside from a wide position who is the guy who can hurt you. I don't think he's as effective centrally in traffic. I think you lose a little bit of what he brings to you there. So, we'll see. That's some more Atlanta United talk about New England. We've got some more questions as well, Atlanta United, MLS related. We'll get to those. We'll talk about NWSL as well. Their season kicks off this weekend, and you would not be alone if you're wondering where the talk and where the excitement is. There hasn't been enough of it. We'll try to get you set for the upcoming NWSL season right after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, April 9th edition. April 13th, Saturday, is the start of the NWSL season. Kicks off with the defending champs, North Carolina Courage, hosting Chicago Red Stars. Also, Washington Spirit hosting Sky Blue FC. Two games on Sunday. Orlando Pride hosting Portland Thorns. And Houston Dash hosting Reign FC. I was, looking at this, and I knew the weekend that the league was starting, and knew that, okay, it's coming up soon. Looking for some preview, looking for some talk, looking for some conversation about where this is going to go, what the season's looking like. Can anybody catch North Carolina? Who's going to be a surprise this year? There's not much. There's just not that much. It's very frustrating. You look at the NWSL website. It is national team, U.S. and Canada picking up big wins. It is the announcement of the allocated players from the U.S. Federation and the Canadian Federation. I don't know how that works because it's not even. If you're looking at this from the outside, okay, allocated players. Chicago has 4. Houston has 3. North Carolina has 5. Orlando has 3. Portland has 5. Reign has 2. Sky Blue has 2. Utah has 5. Washington Spirit have 2. Okay, what does that do? What does that mean? What does that mean for the teams that, don't have as many allocated players? Do they get some kind of first right of refusal on international players coming in? The allocated players in this situation are players who their salaries are paid by the U.S. Soccer Federation or the Canadian Soccer Association. 22 from U.S. Soccer, 9 from Canada. And you look at some of the changes. So Morgan Bryan was added to this list. Now, she's not really part of the national team at this point. Adriana Franch and McCall Zerboni were added to the list. Okay, they're part of the national team. Franch getting her debut in the She Believes Cup. Zerboni has kind of pushed her way over the last year and a half into the national team picture. Jane Campbell, who was brought back into the national team with the injury to Franch. Lynn Williams, Amy Rodriguez-Schilling, and Taylor Smith are no longer allocated players by U.S. Soccer. And then Sabrina D'Angelo, Janine Becky, Adriana Leon, and Rebecca Quinn are no longer allocated by Canada. What does that mean? That's the type of stuff. We know how complicated MLS and allocation money is. I don't know how this is structured from an NWSL perspective. Okay. Other stories on the main page, it's a lot of U.S. women's national team. It's a lot of North Carolina Courage. That's about it. I want to know what to look for this season. I want to know, one, and I guess this is the biggest question for me, John, is you look at the schedule and you start scrolling through. There's not much of a break with the Women's World Cup. You're going to have these teams play through the Women's World Cup. They're going to be missing players.
Shorthanded, yeah.
A lot of players. I mean, you have a break from June 2nd to June 15th, and then you're playing through the rest of June into July. You're going to be shorthanded, and how is it going to be for you getting attention? Now, the thing you do have going for you, and I want to see what these clubs do to try to capitalize on it, is you're going to be playing games at 7 o'clock local time. Out west, you've got your 10 o'clock Eastern time starts, your 11 o'clock Eastern time starts. Your World Cup games are going to be in the morning and afternoon. You're going to be able to do some things, community engagement, viewing parties and such, viewing parties for your players who are playing in these games. But is it going to be the right approach to play so many games, so shorthanded, for a league that I think needs star power?
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah. And considering, even if you just go to the allocated players list, if you just look at that list, Chicago, Morgan Bryan, Julie Ertzler-Sanair.
Well, Morgan Bryan's not going to be part of the U.S. women's national team unless something big time changes. So,
right. Okay. So
there's a few that will change because of that. But yeah, you're right.
Players with the courage. You're defending champ in multiple places. You've got Alex Morgan out of Orlando, Adriana Franch, Tobin Lindsay Horan, Christine Sinclair in Portland, Megan Rapinoe with Reign FC, Carly Lloyd in Sky Blue, press Sauerbrunn in Utah, and possibly Rose Lavelle, Mallory Pugh in Washington. You're going to be playing these games with a lot of the USA star power not a part of it. And to your point, yeah, you can sit there and make it viewing parties and make it a must-see leading into the match. But locally, with that 2-week gap, yeah, then the USA players going deep into a tournament, you're not going to have the players for, realistically, what? As many as 4 or 5 matches? Because if you go all the way through the World Cup, then there's recovery time because you don't want them to come back immediately and play, or at least, you're going to want them to, but I don't think they'll be physically capable of doing that. So you're losing all of your USA star power for 5 weeks, maybe?
I disagree that they won't be able to come back and step straight back in.
Okay.
They're playing games just like they'd be playing games here. They're just playing games in France. So, maybe depending on travel, your first game might be a little bit different. But also, too, you got to remember, not every player that is in the roster is going to be playing every game in the World Cup. So, starting so soon afterwards, that'd be fine. I don't have as much of an issue with that. But your break is at the beginning of June. The tournament starts June 7th. You have a break during the first weekend of the Women's World Cup, and then you're back in action. Now, I don't know what the solution would have been, and I don't know. At this level, you're dealing with some different situations with stadium availability. Would you be able to go deeper into the season and having availability of your stadiums? You have a club like Sky Blue that's playing at Rutgers. Would they be able to play once you get the college season going? I don't know. Maybe not. Things get complicated. I totally get that. My bigger issue is that you look at the league website, and we've talked about it from an MLS perspective. The league, and this is not just a soccer thing. This is happening across all sports, but I think it's even more amplified in the MLS and the NWSL websites, in that you are the national media source for yourself. And that's tricky, but when your last update, your last notebook from around the NWSL preseason is March 25th.
Yeah.
And it's April 9th. And I want to know what's going on around the league for, it's the Tuesday before the opener on Saturday, and it's just not easy to find. That's a concern because
where do you find the team previews?
There's
breakdowns?
Not any. There's not.
That's what I'm saying.
No, there are some. There's great independent media who works very hard to cover this league, and they're out there. And SB Nation just committed to a women's site, a women's specific portal, which is great from SB Nation. I'm really glad about that. I think they actually have some openings for writers. If you are interested, go check that out. It's a little bit too difficult to follow this league. And that's the problem that I have at the moment. Now, let's talk TV, because that adds to the difficulty in following the league. They're not on Lifetime anymore. And some people would have said that was difficult too, which I understand. Lifetime's not a normal destination to watch, professional sports. But they committed to the league. They've invested in the league, and now they've pulled back. You're going to be watching these games on Yahoo Sports. You're not going to be watching them on an ESPN Plus, where you watch MLS, where you watch USL Championship, where you watch USL League One, now where you're going to watch the Open Cup. You're going to Yahoo Sports, which is different than your normal destinations. It's easy to get lost in that type of situation. I feel like the league really has to, in a year where you have the Women's World Cup grabbing a lot of the attention in the women's soccer world, where your product to watch is not going to be easily found, you're going to have to work at it.
Yeah.
There really has to be a doubling down of storytelling, of sharing the word, of getting the word out there at the league level, because this is a year where we talked about it before. I felt like they should have expanded coming in to a World Cup year as opposed to waiting for the World Cup to see what happens, Mia Hamm made the rounds with the women's national team in town over the weekend, talked about how LAFC would love to be involved in women's professional soccer. It has to make sense as an investment. You can't just throw money away.
Yeah.
A lot of questions about Atlanta doing it. I think Atlanta would be a great market for it. I think if it's an extension of Atlanta United, it would do really, really well. You can't just throw money away. The league has to show that it is a worthy source or a worthy destination for that investment. I'm concerned with some of the stuff going on leading into the season. I want to know more, and it's hard. Make it easier. Have more information available. We know about the difficulties in journalism right now, and we know about the difficulties in finding jobs in journalism right now. We all know about that if you're doing this at any level. If the league can't afford to hire more, freelance writers to write season previews and to get this stuff out there and have this content out there, it's one thing if you're not connecting, but it's another if there's just no content to connect with. That's an issue. I want to see it change. I want it to be easier to tell people about how good the North Carolina Courage are. And this is a team you should watch. I want it to be easier to tell people, like, hey, the Courage dominated last year, but check out this team. Check out what Chicago's done in the offseason. Check out what Orlando's doing. Right now, it's a lot of work to be able to do that. That's a shame. I hope that changes really quickly.
And when you're dealing with 8.5 franchises, have we upgraded to a full 9 yet, or are we still at 8.5?
I think we still need to wait and see.
Okay. So with 8.5 franchises, I honestly am with you on a couple of fronts. When you're trying to establish yourself as a viable product in the landscape, and you're going to make it hard for people to find you with your live events, hard for people to find you when it comes to day-to-day news, updates, storytelling, there's going to be a point, frankly, where people are just going to stop looking. And for something that is as important as the NWSL should be in the country's landscape, when you continue to sit there and have sentences that say hard to find, hard to find, hard to find, there's going to be that point where hard to find is just going to be put off to the side, and you're going to sit there and go and find other things that are going to be of interest to you. It's a shame right now that, seriously, I'm on the website right now, and there are no team previews. I mean, there should be 9 stories up at the very least about who's in, who's out, coach. I mean, just the synopses that we always see just in bullet point form. We don't even see that right now. Of course, if it shows up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, frankly, it should have been up at the beginning of this week. You should be building up to your league activities on the 13th. You should be building up to this kind of stuff. There's been no build. And when you're scrolling down and you have to get to basically the halfway point of the front page, and you see a feature on International Women's Day, and then the We're Back season schedule promotional element, and then the home openers and all that kind of stuff. You've had to go down halfway down a page. I want to see more stuff.
Your last bit of engaging content on Instagram that is specific to the league 3 weeks ago. The Thorns New Kids. 3 weeks ago. You had a generic post of the match ball, the Nike match ball soon 1 week ago. You had, a picture of Allie Krieger in the Orlando Pride kit, but it's about the U.S. Women's National Team roster drop. It's surprising, and, let's say this one too. You look at the schedule and you see Washington Spirit, Sky Blue FC. You see a link for the preview. You see where the game's going to be. You see how to buy tickets. No preview up for the game yet, which MLS does that as well. You have it's usually a couple days before. It's usually 2-3 days before the game. But if I'm not as deep into this as I am, I know about the Yahoo Sports deal. There's no article on the news section about it. There's no mention of it in the schedule format. There's a broadcaster tab listed, and there's nothing under it. If I'm looking at this and I don't keep up with everything, I don't know if I can watch any of these games. I don't think there's a TV deal.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that, now I've seen posts from people who have been in the league or know people who work in the league that Yahoo's working on all this stuff to make it easy to watch the games, and links are being built and things are being done. It's the week of the season start. It's not where it should be. So this is the thing that I remind people of when it is Atlanta United should spend millions and millions of dollars to have a professional women's team. LAFC should do it. Why? They should just do it. The league has to show that they're ready for it. The league has to take a step up, and I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if, some of the talk around the lifetime deal being, done was that they were holding the league back. There was talk about expansion being held back because of the lifetime deal. I never really understood it, got an explanation for it. If it is, then okay, where are we going? What's up? What's going on? What's next? You got to have the games available for people to watch. Make that clear to people, because people have asked, like, "Hey, I heard about the Yahoo Sports thing. I'm not seeing anything about it. It's coming." Well, it's Tuesday. It's the 9th.
Okay, here's what I had to do. I had to go to the Yahoo Sports website, sports.yahoo.com. Go into the soccer section, hit the NWSL tab, and it is the second story in their rundown. So that's how many steps? Yeah, at Yahoo. So I literally
had to. If you're an NWSL fan and you don't know anything about Yahoo,
there should be a link to this article.
You're not going to Yahoo. When's the article dated? Does it have a date?
The 4th.
The 4th of
April? 5 days ago.
Well, it's
how to watch and follow the night.
It's not on the NWSL website.
Nope. How to watch and follow the 2019 NWSL season on Yahoo Sports, dated April 4th, and there is no link to this article on the NWSL website.
I'm scrolling backwards to look for something. Yahoo does not come up in a headline anywhere. So February 20th, A&E Networks and NWSL end partnership. That story's there. I'm skimming through it. The second to last paragraph, it's the sentence. For 2019, all of the NWSL's regular season matches will be streamed on Yahoo Sports, while international fans will be able to watch on the NWSL app and NWSLsoccer.com. Okay. So that was February 20th. It's buried in the post. Okay. I'm not going to find it if I'm not looking for it. Then the schedule announcement. It was on February 22nd. I'm looking. It's the 4th paragraph. Same sentence. For 2019, fans in the United States can watch all blah, blah, blah. Okay. February 22nd. Nothing specifically about Yahoo Sports anywhere. And when you look on the schedule at NWSL, soccer.com, there's nothing about Yahoo Sports. I don't know. I want it to be easy. I want to be able to tell people, like, watch this league, watch the quality in this league, watch these teams, watch the courage, watch who's going to challenge the courage this year. I want to talk about it from a soccer perspective because that's where I think this league will grow. it's very difficult to do it. And if it's difficult for somebody to spread the word who wants to, people are going to stop. And that's a shame, because these players deserve more. You know, the great fan bases around this league, and there are great fan bases in this league, they deserve more. They deserve to grow. So I'm hoping that this is just a hiccup and that it changes really quickly. But I don't know. We will have an NWSL preview. We will do an NWSL in 10 every week. And we'll do our first one tomorrow to get you ready for the season. It's going to be a little bit of work to prepare that. But this is a league that needs that coverage. This is a league that I think deserves the coverage, even if the league is not showing that it's deserving of the coverage. The game is deserving of the coverage. And we will keep you up to date on the NWSL and all of the great stories within it. And this is a World Cup year. There should be lots of stories about players, you know, in the first month of the season trying to earn that World Cup spot, trying to turn a national team manager's head. There should be tons of different things going on right now. And we will do our best to share them with you. And I hope the league, you know, bumps this up. And I don't know, maybe it's just a slow start. Maybe there's been some personnel changes. I'm not sure. But it's the 9th, the game's starting the 13th, and it's not looking good on the website side of things. It's not looking good on a ease to follow. We have some news that broke just a little bit ago on the Atlanta United front. Mikey Ambrose will miss 3 to 5 weeks after re-injuring his right meniscus. Suffered the injury in training on Friday. It was confirmed over the weekend. So now your depth at left back is even more tenuous. Don't have an update on George Bello as of yet. Not a good situation with Mikey Ambrose, who I thought has played well even on the right side. I thought he did well in Columbus. Losing Ambrose is going to hurt. We'll talk about that and more of your comments and questions on a Tuesday Thoughts edition right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. Getting into your Tuesday thoughts on Twitter. Lots of sad thoughts about Mikey Ambrose. 3 to 5 weeks out with a meniscus injury. Happened in training on Friday. Man, this team just can't catch a break sometimes. According to Doug Robertson at the AJC, we do have some good news, though. Franco Escobar, Pity Martinez, George Bello, all back in training. Boy, fingers crossed. Bubble wrap, ready to go.
Yeah.
Just, come on, guys. Don't get injured.
It's like dog, y'all.
Oh, man, you need some George Bello right about now.
Yes. And John Gallagher, probably.
Well, Franco Escobar's in training, John. That's what I'm saying.
But
still, he's in training. He's playing. If he's the guy, he's playing. There's no question. If he's ready to go, he is playing. As much as John Gallagher, I think, was put in bubble wrap this weekend, just in case. Escobar training, you really want to see him at Gillette Stadium on Saturday night. You really want to see George Bello on the left side. You want to see a back line of Bello on the left, Escobar on the right, and either two of LGP, Robinson, Parkhurst in the middle. You want to see that because I think that gives you the best chance to win. Hopefully. Nobody gets injured this week.
Bubble wrap.
But you can't. And that's the thing.
I know.
It's something that people always say, like, just don't train him. Well, you can't play that way.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. I think you will not do the Bielsa murder ball 45-minute scrimmage tomorrow that he does with Leeds United, where there's no free kicks. There's sort of a referee there, but he's not calling anything. Don't think you'll have that this week. I think you will try to avoid those types of situations with somebody running into Franco Escobar and him breaking something else or being concussed.
Keep Brad Guzan away from Franco Escobar.
Well, you can't do that when you're a right back, so you're just going to have to cross your fingers and hope. That's where you're at this point. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Kefsey with a question. I'm surprised Dallas has shown some strength with the youth, but hope Atlanta will outshine them here. Since Luciano Acosta stayed in D.C., I'm not surprised yet, but would expect a drop-off in the wins if he goes in the summer. D.C. United's in a really tough spot with him because his contract right now is up at the end of the 2019 season. Just so everybody knows this, the really tricky element that you're in right now is you get to the summer transfer window, he's not under a new contract. Say you can't agree to terms, he doesn't sign a new deal. That means he goes into the summer transfer window with a lot of leverage. He can sign a deal with any club in the world to join them in the winter transfer window in 6 months. On a free, DC United gets zero. Nada. Nothing. He doesn't leave immediately. He finishes the season out. But he can leave at the end of the season. Adios. Now, sometimes we see the situation where it's a club who says, okay, yep, we can have him join us in the winter transfer window, but man, we'd really like to get him now. Here's $500,000. Here's maybe $1 million. Maybe you're able to pull that type of thing. I don't know. It's a pittance. Maybe you do that. But if you're DC United, you're weighing so many different things right now when it comes to Acosta. He was so close to going to PSG. And it fell apart at the last minute. And I don't think anybody's really to blame here. I don't think DC United did him wrong. I don't think there's anything like that. He's playing well, so it doesn't look like he's holding any grudges. But he was so close to going to one of the biggest clubs in the world. If anyone...
According to that broker.
No, he was close. No, he was close to going. No, don't get it twisted here. Now, things were more complicated because the broker portrayed things as one way, and it maybe wasn't that way. But those negotiations continued very deep into that transfer window. So, no, he was that close to going. Like, he went to Paris. He left training camp. He went to Paris. There were negotiations deep into the deadline. Didn't happen. That weighs on you. You want to go. You have the opportunity to go. You want to explore that. It's going to take DC United offering him stupid money to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's enough, to be honest. So now
if you've had the opportunity to sit there and you have had the European theater right at the edge of your fingertips. Why would you not go? Why would you, if it's meant that much to you,
and you're that close to going, knowing that there are clubs who would be interested in you, it would take stupid money for me to stay, because you only get that opportunity in the prime of your career. You get that first shot, you take it. So for me, it would be stupid money for him to stay.
I don't even know if that's enough. Not when you have Manchester United reportedly scouting you. Not when you have a mid-table Premier League team supposedly interested. Not when you have multiple clubs from France interested. I don't think he's here in 2020. No. Now, I don't know what DC gets out of it, and more importantly, I don't know how they manage the situation, because a player signs a pre-contract to leave. He's got a foot out the door the second half of your season. How is that going to affect it? Is he going to, anytime there is a slight injury, is he going to say, you know what, I'm going to
peace out.
Down. I'm going to sit.
Yeah.
And that's not even like knocking Luciano Acosta, saying he's not a professional. That's
no. You're protecting your investment.
You're protecting your investment in yourself, and if your club that you're at has not been able to come to terms with you, then obviously, like, you're not part of their long-term future. So, like, you do have to go into business for yourself a little bit. How's that going to affect the second half of DC season? That's the biggest storyline for them. They've got less than 2 months now to try to re-sign him to a new deal before that window opens. And then when it's open, all bets are off. Like, anything could happen. And I think at that point, I mean, if you're DC United, in a perfect world for you, you better be scouting replacements, or you better have Yamil Assad's agent on speed dial, because he's not playing at Vélez. He's only been in the 18 a couple of times. Maybe he plays some in the upcoming Copa de la Superliga, which is like a league cup that is at the end of the regular season in Argentina that's done over 2 legs, and it's weird, but it's Argentina. It happens. Maybe he's going to play some there. But if you're DC, I think what you need to do is, look, I don't think you're going to be able to re-sign him. He gets into that summer window. Hopefully he finds a club that's interested early. Hopefully you do your business early. He signs his deal. You work out a transfer to have him go ahead and go. You get something out of it, and then you go get the replacement straight away. Because I don't think you want a situation where you're fighting down the stretch and you have a player with a foot out the door who's not all the way invested in what you're doing going forward. I think you need to move him in the summer, and I think you need to get a replacement. And if that's Yamil Assad, if he basically spent 6 months in exile, so be it. You know he can step into your team. He has that familiarity. It seems like a no-brainer. And that's I think, what DC should do. We'll see if that's what they actually do. We'll see how this plays out for DC United. Let's take our final break, come back and wrap everything up right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Putting a bow on a Tuesday show here at SDH. Michael Head gets the last Tuesday thought in. With Ambrose's injury, this club is looking more and more like Toronto 2018. I'm going to disagree because of the injuries not happening at the same position. And that was the weirdness for me with Toronto last year is you had every center back on the roster hurt at the same time. And you go into a CONCACAF final with Vanderveer, who was a right back or right wing back, and Bradley, who's a defensive midfielder, as your center back pair. And that had to continue for quite a while. Michael Bradley played a lot as a center back last year, and he's not a center back. He's just not. You haven't gotten there yet. You've had injuries at different spots. You've had right back injury. You've had left back injury. The Pity Martinez one seems very slight. You've had injuries, but they're not at the same spot. So it's not quite as critical of a situation. But, yeah, it's feeling like you're a little snake bitten at this point.
And you're just, once again, you're hoping that it doesn't turn into Toronto. But right now, I know the injuries kind of feel like it's a bit of a cascade, but that's what ATO UTD2 was built for, and all of the development that you've had with guys. And so you've got Bello coming back to practice. You've got Escobar coming back and getting reps. You just are looking to make sure that they're as good to go as humanly possible for the weekend.
John Gallagher can give you coverage on the right side. Gordon Wild has been working as an outside back and a wing back. You might need to turn to him at some point too. You brought in Breck Shea for a reason. You have had to use him more than maybe you would have liked early on. You're going to have to turn to him at this point with Ambrose being out. You've got some issues. And now it's Tuesday. You're preparing for a game Saturday. You've got time to find solutions. And you have to figure out how to deal with a New England team that is pretty unpredictable in the way they're going to approach this. Lineups change pretty regularly. Style of play changes pretty regularly. We know that Brad Friedel wants this team to just show hard work. That's basically what we know about New England at this point. So how they do it, I don't know. Their backs are against the wall too. You know, they have not played well so far this season. Friedel has been very vocal in not calling out players specifically by name, but calling out the players for lack of hard work. This is a really interesting one on Saturday. And Atlanta United, it's not must-win, but it's as close to must-win as you can be in this situation. So we'll continue to get you ready for it as we go this week. Tomorrow on the show, Joe Patrick and Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game from Dirty South Soccer will get you ready for Atlanta and New England this weekend. We'll also talk a little bit about D.C. and Montreal from tonight. You can watch that one on ESPN+. And we'll get you ready for a Wall Pass Wednesday tomorrow morning. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Much appreciated. Mucha plata, y'all.
See you Friday, folks. Mucha plata, y'all.